Jazz Festival in Westminster is the rite of spring. It's the first outdoor festival our community has each year. People come to buy plants for their gardens, flowers for Mother's Day. It's always the day before Mother's Day, and there's all kinds of vendors, art, food, crafts, you name it. It's a really great Westminster tradition. Jazz is uplifting, it's interesting, it's diverse. There can be everything from very traditional big band sounds to innovative cutting edge sounds as well. So I think it pleases a lot of palates. Crowds have been super. You can tell people love the Flower and Jazz Festival because it has been cold and gray and rainy today, and yet there's still great crowds coming out. We offered an indoor space to the jazz music that takes place at Flower and Jazz, and we have been thrilled to have wonderful entertainment all afternoon here. Flower and Jazz always inspires me to want to pick up a CD from some of these artists and take it home and play it in the car and relive the event. It's a great way to take home a piece of jazz.
We enjoy playing festivals because it brings us a different audience sometimes. It's always great to have supported people out there to listen to your original compositions as well as standards in the jazz repertoire. I've been playing jazz since I was about 12 years old in middle school. I had a middle school band director who was a jazz pianist as well as a bassoonist in New York State, and he got a lot of us young folks get together and start a combo, and you know, that kind of got us propelled in enjoying America's music, which is what it is. And it just continues on, and we're all here together in a different kind of entity, so to speak.
Since I started out getting interested in jazz music, I guess I was age 14. So just about all my life, I guess.
Rick and John and Barry over there have been together for over 20 years, right? Is that 20?
Since 94.
Yeah, 23, going on 23 years. Yeah.
So this is kind of a new collaboration group.
I got interested in jazz when I was a kid, riding in the car, listening to the radio with my folks, but really started playing it, I guess, in college. But I've always played all kinds of other music too. So
all three of us here are teachers. So we're trying to inspire and share our experiences with younger folks. And there are obviously the icons that we identify with. I mentioned in our performance Duke Ellington and people like Wayne Shorter and folks like that. But there are younger players out there that are really making a big contribution. We had a young lady named Esperanza Spalding on our University of Maryland College Park campus not too long ago, and she's really made a big name for herself, not only as a jazz bass player, but as a singer. And I think we can probably all have examples to share as far as that's concerned. So keeping it alive is a crusade, of course, because some of the big bands that we listened to when we were younger, like the Duke Ellington Band, the Count Basie Band, the Glenn Miller Band and stuff like that, they don't exist anymore except in a ghost situation. So in the educational situation is where we try and make sure that this music stays alive.
I concur. Yeah, I think teaching the youngsters really gets them inspired to play something, letting them know that there's other music out there. This music doesn't get on the radio as much, you know, and I think once you get the young musicians, they see what's going on with the music, and it draws them in interest-wise. That's what happened to myself. I remember, you know, coming off of playing old rock and roll and things. Just there was more to it for me to try to do, you know, get into jazz music. So it seems to be what's going on with the youngsters, the kids.
well, I've got some students too. Jazz seems to be, when they hear it, they usually like it. Charles Mingus is my big hero. And I can remember a few years ago, one of his songs was in a Toyota commercial, and my students were coming to me saying, "Wow, who is that?" I said, "That's Charles Mingus playing Haitian fight song," and they really fell for it, and which is what happened to me.
We've always had a kids' craft booth at Flower and Jazz outside on the street, and when it rained today, we didn't have to set up our tent. We brought families right into the gallery where they've been making Mother's Day crafts and hopefully enjoying some of the extraordinary art we have on the walls. Man, have I enjoyed working, having all this jazz in the background here. There is a good jazz following in Westminster. Flower and Jazz really is the time we come out of hibernation and rejoice in the nice warm, usually warm weather.
Melwood is a day service for adults with developmental and intellectual disabilities. Okay, and so part of one of our programs that we do at Melwood is we have a vocational skill training program, and I manage the greenhouses for that program. So we have about 20 adults with developmental and intellectual disabilities involved in the program. Okay, and they get paid for their labor in the greenhouses. And so what we do is we produce flowering ornamental annuals, okay, for both contractual obligations as well as festival circuit. Been out here today at the Flower and Jazz Festival 2017 here in Westminster, and sales have been wonderful. You know, although the weather is you know, not that great, we've had a wonderful turnout. So compared to other festivals that we've done this spring, actually it's about the same, you know. So we pick larger festivals on purpose, and actually, believe it or not, the majority of the festivals we've been to have had the same weather and the same turnout. Growing season's been incredible. So at Melwood, we grow about 15,000 ornamental annuals a year. We're petering down to the end of it. So for instance, we grew about 1,500 6-inch geraniums, and I think that I might have about 100 left. Well, you know, I think that it's a great compliment, you know, so people will go inside and listen to a little bit of jazz, get their funk going, you know, come outside and grab something pretty for their yard.
Well, I've been playing jazz since I've been playing the saxophone, which is since I was about 8 years old. So, but seriously, I started performing late in high school. That's when I started to perform jazz, and then after high school, I started to work professionally. It shouldn't be a museum piece. I always think music should breathe and live. So it's okay to actually have a little fun with it. You have to respect the music in the sense that you need to play the compositions the way they were intended to be played, but the music is designed to have a spirit of playfulness to it. So you have to play with it. There are a lot of great jazz players out there. Unfortunately, the problem that we have now is a lot of the young people don't really know what the music sounds like because they didn't grow up with it as part of their cultural, thing. When I was young, you still heard jazz all the time in television and radio and commercials. They don't hear it anywhere anymore. So I get a lot of young students who come to me and say they want to learn how to play jazz, but they've never even heard what it sounds like. So it's harder for the young people, I think, because they're just not exposed to it. So the only time I really get nervous is if I'm playing with really great musicians who I've never worked with before. But the audiences tend not to make me nervous. I enjoy playing for audiences. I love the feel of swing music. I love the freedom, but I also love the discipline. I just love the music itself. You know, people are always trying to find something. I just dig it, that's all. I just like the music. I like the way it sounds, I like the way it feels, and I grew up with it, so it was easy for me to hear it and to, you know, culturally, it feels natural to me. It's not a forced thing. And I think that's the most, whatever kind of music you play, you have to have some sort of cultural connection to it on a certain level. And so I was fortunate. Like I said, I grew up in one of the last generations where jazz was still part of the day-to-day vernacular of our lives. And like I said, I think it's harder for young people. Not impossible. They just have to work harder to listen to it. So
I don't think there's an ending point to any of this. It just there are new people coming up with stuff, even on old things.
I think music and art, music of all genres mixes well with art of all genres.
Flowers and jazz are a great combination.